Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Coast to coast college football.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. He's going to go out of there.
The sickest college football podcast.
There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the missed field goal back. He ran it back 109 yards.
It's going to be sick.
That's right. It's the Sick Podcast, coast to coast college football. I'm John Lund, the East Coast side. He's Dan Lynch, the West Coast transplant. It is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. As we record this, we're excited to bring you yet another college football show. Dan, how are things on the West Coast?
93 days until week 0 kickoff, John. I am.
How are you going to say it's 93 degrees? I was going to say we're getting ahead of ourselves in May for it to be that warm already.
It actually, we are having a bit of a heat wave here in Los Angeles. So it actually might be around 93 degrees here in Los Angeles. I'm in beautiful downtown LA right now. But 93 days, 22 hours, 39 minutes, and 8 seconds until kickoff. And you know what? For a majority of those days, we will get you informed, Johnny. I'm doing great, man. Happy to be back with you on the Sick Podcast, baby.
It's amazing probably how many people have that countdown that are college football fans too, like on tickers in their homes where they walk into the kitchen and they meet their family after work. Daddy, how was your day? How are things going at the job? And he just glances over in the corner. Well, 93 more days, fellas. That's all I'm concerned about. Forget about dinner. When are we getting back into the tailgates? That's our dinner.
Week 0, man. I mean, there should be actually a decent amount of week 0 games this year. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that the college football season is kicking off with like some premier matchups that we just aren't getting, like UCLA versus Hawaii. No offense to the Raven Warriors. But, some decent games to just like get our taste buds just like a little bit more ready to go until like conference play starts up, because we get those like week 2, week 3 games, which like whatever. But yeah, man, can't wait.
They are trying to make week 0 much bigger of a thing than especially it was when it was first introduced, and we all kind of rolled our eyes and said, here we go. How is this going to impact teams? How is this going to impact bye weeks? How is this going to be something that certain teams have to deal with and others don't, because not all teams play on week 0. But if they can showcase as best they can the sport of college football and get people as interested as possible before Labor Day really hits hard on folks' sports watching, there's nothing wrong with that, to try and showcase the best teams possible. Now, unfortunately, it's not as easy as, say, college basketball might have with the tournaments that they have in the early part of the season, where teams are more willing to play better opponents and showcase those types of games as best they can. College football is more difficult in the scheduling. It's often done a decade in advance sometimes for these matchups, and how they're able to put together those types of games isn't necessarily as easy as it would be on the video game portion, where you're just asked to pick whoever you want to play and you could just have the best schedule possible for yourself. We did learn, though, and it's always funny to think back to this, if there were some positives to the COVID pandemic, aside from being able to stay at home and be a recluse, if you're one of those types of folks. It is not as hard as we were once led to believe to make a college football schedule work and to move around games and to play teams that are more exciting, would bring a better matchup. And of course, what the schools are all concerned about, how much revenue it would bring in to hold such games, whether at a neutral site, which is becoming a more obsessive thing in college football. God forbid we have these home environments where there's 80 to 90 to 100,000 fans screaming at the top of their lungs. Let's go to an NFL stadium and take away that home field advantage, but at least we'll get all the revenue that we need. So you kind of take the good with the bad, but we learned if you really want to play a team and both sides agree to do it, it can be done. You don't have to say, well, we've got this all scheduled out till 2036, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to move around our schedules. No. If you really want it done, you can do it.
Just show up and play. I mean, BYU versus, Eastern Carolina?
Yeah.
The Mormons versus the Mullets, that was done within 2 days. And then BYU was on a plane to I think that's in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, I believe. But yeah, it could be done. I mean, listen, there's so many different ways. I mean, there's a bunch of new home and home series that have been scheduled till 2036. It's like, dude, like, I hope we're still playing college football by then. So yeah, it should be interesting now.
And with college football, as fans know, and if you don't, it's an ever-changing thing now in the world of 2025 college football. You don't know what's coming tomorrow with how things are moving, not only in the sport itself, in the government aspect of things, NIL and the transfer portal. How can we all figure this stuff out? Should we go to Congress? Should we make this happen? Every day, you never know what you're going to get in the college football world, and you're supposed to be okay with having things booked out 11 years in advance, where you don't even know necessarily where your team specifically, but also the other team will be in their development. A team that's great now might just be mediocre then. The game might not mean anything at all if it's not already a deemed rivalry. So there's really no sense of being that obsessive with, oh, no, this is all set in stone. We have this home and home scheduled. We're both at the peak of our powers right now, and assuredly we will be in 10 to 12 years. That's just not.
Who knows what Clemson looks like in 10 years, right? With this new home and home series against Notre Dame. I mean, one of them could be really bad in 5 years, in 2 years. Who knows what happens with Dabo? Maybe he goes to Alabama. I mean, anything could happen. I mean, like right now, like the weirdest home and home series that I think is like Utah versus Florida. It's just a weird taste in my mouth every time I say it. Granted, they've been decent games, but still, it's just like, oh, okay. Like if you want to play it, like that's fine. But yeah, I don't think we necessarily need to. Maybe in the future, maybe they take back a few games. I mean, it could totally be done as well. But hey, the future is bright in college football, no matter what.
I wouldn't mind seeing, not necessarily having there be multiple open dates or open weeks for teams, but there being more of a possibility to switch things around based on where your programs are, based on how competitive a game might be, and of course, based on what revenue that game would bring in and how many eyeballs are going to be on the TV watching. If it's something where it's just a 2 to 3 year type of window where you know you'll still be okay, and you assume in some aspects that you'll be able to retain your better players now in the NIL age, looking ahead for, all right, we have all these freshmen. Are we going to be able to have them as juniors? Is this going to be one of those veteran lightened classes that will be able to take on this opponent that we're going to be going up against? It'd be cool for the sport if it was as easy as it seems, at least in college basketball, to say, listen, we're two of the best teams. Let's go to this tournament. We're going to invite these two other teams. It's going to be a great showcase for our sport, and fans are going to love it. And they always do. And at the end of the season, as we know, some weight is put on these types of games, strength of schedules, non-conference opponents. Who did you beat? How close was the game? So as exciting as the game also is in November, it could help your chances when March Madness comes around in that specific sport for how you're going to fare when it comes time to who makes what, who's ranked where. And that could be the same case in college football, where you might catch an opponent in week 1 or week 2, and they're not as good as they were in week 14, but you got the best of them and you could put that on your resume. So it's only beneficial, I think, if you're putting a pros and cons list together. The pros would outweigh the cons, at least for college football fans. You just hope somebody has a sense for it.
The only con that I could think, John, right, is when you're scheduling this far out, it can impact traditional rivalries right now. So right now, USC versus Notre Dame is at risk because of this new home and home series between Notre Dame and Clemson, right? Notre Dame traditionally is not in a league. They're an independent, and they play an ACC type schedule, but technically they are an independent. But some of these games have impacted the schedules already till 2026. So that's when the contract between USC and Notre Dame ends. Because of this 10-year scheduling out and Notre Dame's wild schedule that they put into the beginning of the year, there might not be room for USC versus Notre Dame, which sucks because that's one of just the most traditional games I could really think of outside of Ohio State versus Michigan. They played this game since 1926. And they're thinking about not playing it. And reports are coming from the USC side being like, hey, this actually doesn't really help us playing them because, well, if you look at the recent history, they've lost a lot of games. Last year's game, I think USC was up for, I think, like at least until the fourth quarter, 5 minutes to go. Notre Dame came back, but like, yeah, like that would suck for the fan because like there's so many people who love that game. They really like that. There's a big, connection to it. So pros and cons of it, but hopefully Notre Dame versus USC does not get lost in this mix because I think that would just suck for the entire sport, especially West Coast college teams.
I agree. And unfortunately, the competitive side of things is now taking a stranglehold for commissioners and coaches and ADs and who they want to play based on how that will impact their college football playoff chances, which is something, again, that will very soon in a year be thrown to the wall again to see if we have it right, if we're going to pick more teams this time. Are we going to have automatic bids? What's the case going to be with the college football playoff? That's going to be thrown on the table once more very quickly, but that's also something that teams keep in mind of. As much as fans would like to see this, as much revenue as it would bring in, as many eyeballs as there would be on this game, is that going to impact our chances to get a higher seed in the college football playoff, to maybe get a bye, to help us out? Is it worth playing the game for the competitive aspect rather than the exciting aspect of it? And unfortunately, there's a lot of folks in college football that just seemingly aren't college football fans.
No,
and that's
all about them Benjamins, baby.
Across the board, about the Benjamins, and they're focused on themselves, the school, their success, and not the traditions necessarily of college football. Sometimes you just feel like in a lot of things in life, there just needs to be like a common sense czar in the room to say like, okay, we hear you, but let's take a look at this long scroll of tradition that has befallen our sport. What would help us continue this? Should we continue this? And a lot of people now, unfortunately, are willing to throw away rivalries and traditions and things that fans have grown to love about their team and the sport as a whole because it doesn't benefit them in the short term. And I can understand their point. They're trying not to get fired. But college football fans don't necessarily care about that person's well-being in their job. They've been fans of teams for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 plus years. What does it matter that this person who's going to be here for a cup of coffee in the grand scheme of things decides to do with my entire team's tradition and franchise? So it's always a battle of heads with what's best for the sport versus what's best for the school. And as a college football fan myself, I often side on the sport itself, the tradition, the pageantry, all of that. Keep that in mind when you're making these grandiose decisions, these end-all be-alls, and it often sometimes gets forgotten about by these folks that just want to make the most money possible. Which I understand.
They know you're going to show up every Saturday, though, John. That's the other side of it. They know you're going to show up and watch.
Right.
They know it. Like, okay, all these changes are going to happen, but guess what your ass is going to be doing on that Saturday at 12? You're watching the sport, bro, until 11 o'clock at night. Johnny boy, if you're having a rough year, you're hitting me up, seeing what's going on the West Coast. It's like, I'm looking at my clock. I'm like, it's 11:30 and John's still up watching. So, they know that. But yeah, man, it should be interesting no matter what. One thing that we wanted to get into today, John, and we talked a little bit about this before the show. When you talk about tradition, when you talk about winning, one Bill Belichick comes to mind. But not the Bill Belichick that we've seen in 2025. Obviously, a lot of people know about his very public relationship with Jordon Hudson. I said that right? Jordon Hudson. I don't want her to get upset or anything like that. Definitely taking a wild turn this week with rumors of them being engaged before the college football season even starting up. Let's just start with the football side of this. Like, John, when you first heard that Bill Belichick was going to college, going to the ACC, and then going to UNC, first initial thoughts, and do they even compete this year?
Shock is the easy answer, and I think it was for the majority of both NFL fans and college football fans, because we know Bill Belichick's relationship with the New England Patriots did not end well.
No.
6-time Super Bowl champion. As a Denver Broncos fan myself, I've been on the bad side of Bill Belichick many a times in fandom. You as a New York Giants fan, you got those couple. Pretty important.
You know what? When he got fired initially, I thought the Mariners were going to suck him up and it'd be like, hey, Bill, you're the GM and the coach now. You have returned to New York. This is your team. I really thought that was the plan. If you were to say he would be a college coach, let alone UNC's coach, I would be like, no way. But here we are in 2025.
It was surprising that reports kept coming out from the NFL that they were basically done with this dude. And why? Based on his resume and what he's done as an NFL football coach, how could you just be good? What we have is better than Bill Belichick?
Yeah.
Really? All 30-plus teams think that what they got going on is going to be better than Bill Belichick? We know how he is as a coach, and specifically with the New England Patriots. No nonsense. This is the way you put the team ahead of yourself. There's not just one guy. It's the team, the team, the team. And he's been the most serious person on the field. And, of course, as we know, pre-game, post-game, he's not giving you anything. We're on to Cincinnati. This is the way. So when he goes to North Carolina, it's obviously a huge risk for Bubba Cunningham and the directors, because they're going from Mac Brown, who's a legend in college football in his own right, especially for winning a national championship with Texas. And we know how exciting that was for them and how great he is for the sport, how great he is as a mentor and just wanting the best for his kids. So they're going from, do we want to get younger, to, no, we're good. We'll still bring in an older gentleman. It's just going to be Bill Belichick. We'll be the ones that take the plunge. And then it comes out what he's making, $10 million a year, 3 years guaranteed for 5 years. He's the most paid public person in North Carolina.
Yep.
And then it comes out, well, the buyout for coach, if we get to June 1st in 2025, which is shortly upon us, is only $1 million. What? That's all it's going to be. He wants to go back to the NFL. Now, granted, at the stage that the NFL is at, you'd be hard-pressed to find a team that would be looking for their coach in June. But just for that being such a low number, people also thought, well, is he just going to do this for 6 months and decide to leave? Is this a year thing? And he's going to try to get back to the NFL to see if he could get the all-time winningest coaches award and accolade that he's kind of had in the back of his mind too. You had no idea what the future was going to look like for this, but then you thought, well, with the transfer portal, with the NIL now in college football, maybe this dude will succeed.
Yeah,
because he's Bill Belichick. You get a phone call from Bill Belichick as a college football player. Hey, Andrew, it's Bill Belichick. You drop to your knees. This guy wants me to play for him. Everybody knows who Bill Belichick is. And if you don't, your parents certainly know who Bill Belichick is. So you thought he could build this super.
That's the thing I keep thinking, like, do these college kids, do these Gen Z kids born in like 2006 actually know who he is? I would like to think they would, because like in middle school, Bill was still coaching in the NFL. So yes, but I don't know if they know to the magnitude of how legendary he is. But still, yes, I would assume most of them would. That would be wild if some of them, like, if we got an honest answer, like, I really wish this HBO Hard Knocks type of like spring ball following them would have been amazing. It would have been amazing. And then you add everything on with his outside personal relationship. It would have been just popcorn watching every single week. But I also think, just from a football standpoint, of being like, let's see how differently he talks to college students compared to pros. Right? Like, is there a difference, or is he still the same Bill? Like, hey, we're gonna do this defense, and if you're not there, like, is he gonna be as hard as they were on the players as he was in New England? It would have been amazing. But hey, looking at their schedule right now, John. Okay, so they start with TCU. This is at home. TCU, listen, they're not a bad team, coming out of the Big 12. Sonny Dykes, definitely a hell of a coach. But to start off with TCU, if they lose that game, do you think they're in full panic mode for the rest of the season?
I don't think it's going to be helpful based on where the program stands currently. Now, the narrative, of course, can shift as we get closer to the season, and hopefully we find more about North Carolina's players on the field at least as far as general population goes, because
Yeah.
folks now that know Bill Belichick, whether they're casual football fans or just fans of pop culture, now know him now in such a different light than we know him as a college football currently and a former NFL coach. It's just crazy what bullet points certain people now will put next to his name when 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, those bullet points would be completely different. He's still going to have them there, but there's so much now that goes along with his name that if things don't go well for the first week, talk shows in general in the morning, talk shows, of course, and sports are going to just come down on the North Carolina football program like crazy. And is the off-field stuff that Bill's been dealing with taking away from the on-field stuff? The stories are going to go nuts. And shout out as well to Sonny Dykes and TCU, who once again are going to be on the main stage of college football to kick off a season. We talked about them when we spoke about Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders having to be the first team that plays them on national TV. We talked about losing by 1,000 in the national championship in the college football playoff. Did they deserve to be there, et cetera, et cetera? Now, once again, instead of just being able to take it nice and easy to start your season and try to rebuild back to that national championship caliber team, you're under the spotlight because everybody and their mother now is going to be watching the first North Carolina football game. Great for Sonny Dykes having once again after the game to answer all these questions of, well, how did you prepare for a game like this with all the stuff going on off the field? Wonderful. Poor CCU, the short end of the stick for far too many years now, it seems. Speaking of scheduling too far in advance, who knew this would be coming for them?
The other side of it, do you think America's pulling for UNC here or they're pulling for TCU?
I think that will be something we see happen right beforehand. And we don't know what more news is going to come out of North Carolina because the cycle of things that have unfortunately had to be presented from both the school and Bill Belichick and Jordon Hudson have just been seemingly a week-to-week type of occurrence. What news will be reported? How will the school respond to said news? How will Bill and/or Jordon respond to said news? And we still have no idea what's happening at these spring football practices and who their quarterback is going to be that's starting and leading them along. It's just the focus of all of this has just been on the wrong things. And I don't think any coach or program, if you were to present to them, would you like this to be your off-season discussions? Nobody's signing up for that.
No. Okay, so let's go through their schedule. So we got TCU week 1, Charlotte week 2. That's a win. We can both agree. Richmond, both win.
Hopefully.
Okay, then it goes to UCF. Okay, UCF is a pretty good football team. They have recruited really, really well in Orlando. So that's kind of up in the air. I'm probably giving it to UCF in this game, right?
I would too.
Okay, then we're moving on to Clemson. That's a win for Clemson.
Yep.
Then they go out to Berkeley to play Cal. 50-50 right now. Cal is, a decent program under Justin Wilcox. I'm going to give it to Cal.
I'm with you.
Okay, then we go to Virginia. Up and up the game. I think Bill could probably pull that one out too. So we'll give UNC the win there. Syracuse. Interesting team under Fran Brown. A lot of swagger on that team. This is the type of guy, and I bet you Fran Brown's the type of coach to bring in stuff from like social media and the outside world to get his team pumped up. So I'm giving that win to Syracuse. Then they host Stanford. New coach, Andrew Luck. Let's give it to UNC there.
I would, and I'm looking forward to a potential either before game on the field handshake between Bill Belichick and Andrew Luck, who I'm sure he loves as a quarterback, or if they can talk before leading up to the game at some point, we'll sit down, a little 10-minute back and forth, just talking ball, both of them. We'll love.
Was the last time we saw those two on the field at the Flake game?
Might have been. We go back in the gallows that far back.
Check the PSI on those footballs, Mr. Lodge. Get those Stanford nerds out there to check. Okay, then
banner up in Indianapolis. We led Deflategate.
Yes. Okay, then after Stanford, they got Wake Forest on November 15th. And then they have Duke. So I bet you they could beat a Wake Forest team, kind of 50-50 team in the ACC. Then you got Duke November 22nd, and then you end the year with NC State. Overall, I don't think we have them making a bowl game.
I don't think so, which is tough, which is why they brought him in. It's at least bowl game or bust, and that's kind of how things ended up for Mac Brown in his last couple of years of we're not even getting to bowl games, or at least we can't even pencil in before the season. There's no chance we don't get to a bowl game, that it's still going to be up in the air. If that's how his first season goes and they don't end up in a bowl game, again, the vultures will be coming out. Why are we doing this? What is his future looking like now? Because now he's 73, 74. We're looking at 75. What's the future going to be for this team? Is it really this short-term 3-year type of experiment? Well, now we're moving on to year 2. We didn't make a bowl game in year 1. Are we really going to find all our success now in the transfer portal and be able to get the guys we need to? Is he going to, Bill Belichick that is, and his staff know better how to do that? Second time around, having an off season, hopefully without the distractions.
Yeah.
Who knows how the recruiting trail is going to work for those guys, because it's completely changed than what he would be used to if he were to be a college coach 40 years ago when he was young enough to be one. It's a completely different world, and you have to be able to figure it out with advanced, younger looking people on your staff. And you've got Mike Lombardi, who's used to doing stuff in the National Football League, having a pivot to, okay, now I'm a college football GM czar, and I got to know all this stuff and talk to these guys and figure out how to get them to come to North Carolina. We'll see.
The other side of that, too, is we're going to see if there's a mass exodus of players leaving that program, how are you going to recruit anyone in to play for him? Because all these players are talking to each other like, hey, man, Bill's rough. Like, he called me at 6 o'clock in the morning to come into the office to go over film, and then I had to go to class. They're not doing that at Miami. You know, like little things like that go a really long way. So it's going to be an interesting year here. But Sick Coast to Coast podcast not having UNC in the bowl game market right now.
The most interesting thing when it comes to the players now in North Carolina that I've been thinking about when this Jordon Hudson saga has been going on for months, but in most recent weeks, shout out to Pablo Torre and all the journalistic work that he's done for his podcast. Pablo Torre knows just finding these sources and getting us ingrained in what the North Carolina brass and culture feel about what's happening now in the moment, where they basically said she's not welcome anymore at North Carolina facilities and she can't come to practice and she can't be walking around like normal. And then they had to come out with another press release and say, well, no, she's welcome here, although she should remember she's not a North Carolina employee. So just keep that in mind when you're coming to and from practice to maybe take Bill home. You're not necessarily here as a paid person. So just as a reminder, we're going to put that in the press release in case you might have forgotten. My biggest question mark is, how are these teenagers and young 20-somethings taking this all in, where their 73-year-old coach is dating someone almost 50 years younger than him, just in general. And then also what she's bringing to their program in somewhat negative publicity. It started with the hilarious video of Bill Belichick on a Ring camera at 6 a.m. without his shirt on, heading back to his humble abode in a walk of shame, to him getting ripped at the Tom Brady roast, which he decided to attend. Interesting decision on his part, but hey, take the good with the bad, to this CBS Sunday morning interview that really took off and went viral, where they just asked the simple question of, so what are your guys' relationship like? How are things? And she said, we're not answering that. Weird. I'm sorry. I was interviewing Bill Belichick. What are we talking about in the back? And the only reason they put that out there is because apparently it was a problem the whole interview. They showed up late. She wanted her hands in all the questionings. There were several times that she interrupted, to the point where they had to say, as much as we want this to be a happy program, we have to put in here what's happened. You mentioned Hard Knocks, and we missed out on North Carolina being that subject of documentation, which would have been phenomenal, because she asked HBO as a 24-year-old, I want to be an executive producer and have a hand in how this is directed. And they were like, no, we don't do that for anyone. We're certainly not doing it for you. And they just said, forget it, we're out. So many opportunities now where you learn that she has tried to be a public figure in things that you would expect are just Bill Belichick. Getting involved in the Super Bowl commercial and asking them to put her in it. Getting involved in another commercial where they're supposedly lounging by the chair and Bill's fielding calls about gambling, because, of course, we can't go 5 seconds without a new gambling commercial. She wanted to be in that commercial, at the point where the producer and director said, okay, we'll just record her in this commercial, but we're not going to put it out just to keep her quiet. We'll just pretend she's in it. Just the things coming out from all this reporting of how she's tried to become the second in command for all of Bill Belichick's well-being, where she's his COO of Bill Belichick Enterprises, which doesn't really exist, and just trying to make a name for himself, which you can't fault. You got to respect the hustle. And it's not like she's just sitting there with her hands under her legs waiting for the next thing to do. She's trying to be proactive to help her career, looking at, well, how long is Bill Belichick going to be atop the college football now world? 5 years? 10 at most? I'm only 24. I got my whole life ahead of me. I might as well try to do some stuff. But just the way things have gone about just leads me to believe, you can't tell me there's not a couple group texts going around the team being like, hey, did you get a load of this? Yeah. You know, this girl is 2-3 years older than we are. She should be dating one of us, but she's dating our coach. He seemingly has no idea that she's posting their pictures on social media of them as a shipment and a mermaid and yoga poses at the beach and all this fun coupley stuff that couples do. Bill's asked about it, and I don't handle my social media. I really don't know what you're talking about. What is happening?
John, I think the next time we see each other.
How are you, a 20-year-old, trying to give your all to this coach, and we don't know what happens in the locker room? We don't know what happens in his office. We don't know how available he is for these dudes, where they can call him, text him, sit with them about their playing time, what the future is for the team. He might be doing all that stuff, as college coaches should do, trying to better them in the classroom, trying to better them on the field. We haven't seen that side, and unfortunately we won't. Hard Knocks would have helped, I think, with that, to see how Bill is off the field. But if you're a 20-something trying to play football for North Carolina and you've got all this off the field shit happening, when your friends are probably sending you Snapchats and Instagrams like, hey, bro, what's going on in the locker room? We see all this stuff that's happening. How's Jordon? Can you give her my number? What's going on with them? I could date her instead of Bill Belichick. It just has to be crazy, the environment that these dudes are dealing with on top of everything else of being a college football player. I don't know how they're handling it.
Hey, John, the only thing that I think is positive about this, if you're a plus 60-year-old man, there's hope for you out there, bro. There is. If you put that time and effort in, you become a 6-time world champion, and then you go back to the college world, there's hope for you. There's hope for you. And I think the next time we see each other, John, we should do the Bill Belichick, Jordon, Hudson beach photo shoot. I mean, you're 6'7", so I'll go on top of you. I mean, it'll be amazing. So next time, that will be the screen grab for this. We're taking that picture, bro.
I'll start doing my leg exercises now to be able to just hold the lift for that. And I think, maybe we could go viral as the show gets more and more popular. But you think that eventually the shoe has to drop, to use that expression, and eventually this is all just going to get back to football and what Bill Belichick knows how to do. And whether it's him having another sit-down interview with Jeremy Schaap or whoever he needs to talk to say, listen, he did a lot of this at the ACC meetings last week. We're all about football now.
All about football.
All that stuff doesn't matter. All my players care about is winning football games. All I care about is winning football games, and we're trying to build up this program. So he just kind of has to switch the narrative in a sense and get the casual college football fans and even the Good Morning America fans to realize that all of this happened. Yes, I could put a pin in that. and get ready for North Carolina football in my frayed North Carolina sweatshirt. We're getting back to basics, and we're getting back to winning football games. And we'll see what happens against TCU because, hate to break it to everybody, a lot of eyes are going to be on that game, which, again, poor Sonny Dykes. That's it for this week's
93 days, baby.
93 days. Keep that countdown in your mind. Sick Media Coast to Coast College Football Show. I'm at London Bridge on Twitter. He's at Dan Lynch Sports, SPURTS. You can also find us at SickPod CFB on Twitter as well. We'll post social media clips throughout the week of different things we've talked about on the show. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify and aforementioned on Twitter. Find us wherever you listen to your shows, and hopefully you'll have as much fun as we do every week doing this show. Dan, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, John.
Shout out to Bill and the 60-somethings that you mentioned.
It's all about football.
On to Cincinnati.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Coast to Coast College Football on YouTube, X, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.